Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Oral Reports. You know, it's been a long time since I talked about Hanna-Barbera on my show. I mean, I've only talked about 2 animated Scooby-Doo films and the 1990s Jetsons movie, but that's beside the point. Anyway, today, I'd like to talk about a classic duo which became Hanna-Barbera's first cartoon creations, Tom and Jerry. As everyone knows, this series centers around the rivalry between a cat and a mouse and the many hijinks they get themselves into. Hanna and Barbera produced 114 of these classic shorts from 1940 up until 1958. They won 7 Academy Awards for animated short film. After MGM Cartoon Studios closed in 1957, the show got revived, and many other legendary animators, including Chuck Jones, got to direct other Tom and Jerry shorts. Also, over the years, many spin-offs have been made, including 13 direct-to-video films have been produced since 2002. To me, as a kid, I loved watching the Tom and Jerry series on Cartoon Network. In fact, most of these episodes knew how to make me laugh and smile. As for what I think of the direct-to-video films, well, some of them were okay, but others were a tad mediocre. But then things got really bad for the cat and mouse duo when they crossed over with other films like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Oz twice. But anyway, today we're going to go over a Tom and Jerry movie that I grew up with and see what I think about it. Released on July 30th, 1993, the movie is Tom and Jerry the Movie. So, let's get started. After their house is torn down, Tom and Jerry are left on the streets to fend for themselves, until they come across a little runaway girl named Robin Starling, the daughter of a billionaire, who's trying to escape from her greedy aunt. Later, Tom and Jerry are invited into Robin's house, but Fig decides to get rid of them after they overheard that Robin's father is alive in Tibet. Soon, Tom, Jerry, and Robin take a daring journey down the river to find her father. So, what do I think of the movie? Well, let me make this perfectly clear. I understand that many folks out there don't like this movie, but because I grew up with this film and the classic cartoon shorts, I want to consider this movie as a guilty pleasure of mine. In fact, I talked about this movie on my top 13 bad films that I like. And of course, this movie made it to number 1 on said list. So, let's move on to Mustang notes. The movie was produced by Turner Pictures and directed by Phil Roman. It is the first theatrical feature-length movie featuring the cat and mouse pair, as well as their return to the big screen after 25 years. Although largely mute in the original cartoons, the duo talked extensively in this movie. Joseph Barbera, the co-founder of Hanna-Barbera and co-creator of Tom and Jerry, served as creative consultant for the movie. Now that sounds pretty promising, but after the film got released, I'm not surprised that this happened. Yeah, it bombed. Mostly due to the numerous negative reviews from critics. But what doesn't make sense is that it received only $3.6 million out of its $3.5 million budget, which sounds kind of successful to me. But in the following years, since its original theatrical release, the movie later gained a cult following among audiences, mainly towards the Tom and Jerry fan base. One of the positive things I can say about this movie is that the animation is excellent, and I feel that it's very reminiscent to the original shorts. Also, some of the humor and slapstick are really hilarious, mostly the antics that involve Tom getting his tail getting caught on something or bitten. Also, there are a few scenes that are a tad emotional and dark at times. However, the scenes that I did like were the chase sequence between our protagonists and the villains, and I liked Droopy's cameo while Tom and Jerry escape from Dr. Applecheek. Plus, the ending climax where the Starling cabin is on fire is really intense. However, the only negative thing I can say so far is that the beginning felt a tad slow, and some parts of the movie can be a bit rushed. However, I forgot to mention that the music was written and composed by the late Henry Mancini, with songs written by Leslie Bricusse. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And to be honest, while the music can be zany and jazzy at times, the songs are sort of a mixed bag for me. The first song in the film is called Friends to the End, sung by Tom, Jerry, a dog named Pugsy, and a flea named Frankie. While most folks don't really like this song, I find it to be a guilty pleasure because I do like the song's message. Plus, it reminds us that animals who are normally enemies can become best friends. If you guys don't believe me, then I guess you should watch Zootopia. Following that is an Alley Cat song called What Do We Care, sung by a gang of alley cats who gang up on Tom. To me, this song is very forgettable, due to it coming right out of nowhere, and after these bad kitties fall into a storm drain, we don't ever see them again. So, basically this song is a... Then we have the villain song, Money is Such a Beautiful Word, sung by Aunt Fig and Mr. Lickboot. Now, normally, while villains have great songs, this isn't a good one, because it's pretty much your average greed song about money. But, could have been worse. At least it's not as bad as King Norman's song from the Groovenians. Next is God's Little Creatures, sung by Dr. Applecheek. To me, this song was pretty surprising. In the beginning, the song started out very quiet and peaceful, but then it becomes very menacing and twisted. Next is Robin's song, I Miss You. To me, this song is very emotional, and I like the parts that show Robin with her father spending time in their cabin and in the woods. Plus, the lyrics always make me shed a tear. Finally, we come to I've Done It All, sung by Captain Kitty and his hand puppet parrot, Squawk. To me, I don't really find this song bad. It's just a bit annoying. Sometimes Kitty's singing is a bit messy, and when Squawk is squawking, it makes me want to plug my ears due to how ear-ripping it is. Anyway, let's move on to the characters and their voice actors. Let's start with Tom and Jerry. Now, since this is the first and only time they've talked, Tom is voiced by Richard Kind, who got to be in several Pixar films like A Bug's Life, Inside Out, Toy Story 3, and the first two Cars films. And of course, Jerry is voiced by Dana Hill, who got to voice Teddy too from the Jetsons movie. Sadly, this was Dana's last movie before she died in 1996. Anyway, to me, Tom and Jerry are very wacky characters in their TV series. Also, I understand that folks do not like the idea of them talking in this movie, but keep in mind, folks, there's always a first time for everything. Plus, I think Tom and Jerry, despite sometimes bickering with each other, they are very loyal and supportive. Our main human protagonist, Robin Starling, is voiced by Andy McAfee, who got to voice Sarah in The Land Before Time 5 onwards. Plus, she also got to voice Phoebe in the Hey Arnold series, and she voiced Mary Lennox in the 1994 animated Secret Garden movie. Now, Robin is an 8-year-old girl who's the daughter of a billionaire, and she's being looked after by her abusive guardian, Pristine Fig. To me, despite the fact that she kind of upstages Tom and Jerry, I still like her because I think she's very sweet. Plus, I think she's pretty similar to other little girls like Anne-Marie from All Dogs Go to Heaven and Penny from The Rescuers. Also, I do like the cabin that her dad built for her. Plus, her dad knows that if Robin ever left her mansion, the cabin is the one place she'd go to. Plus, I think it was very sweet when Robin adopted Tom and Jerry at the end of the movie. Next we come to Pugsy and Frankie, a stray dog and a French flea voiced by Ed Gilbert and David Lander. These guys are the first supporting characters Tom and Jerry meet after their home got bulldozed. Now, while they don't really have a big part in this movie, mostly what they do is persuade the duo to be friends while singing Friends to the End, until they get captured by dog catchers. However, after escaping from Dr. Applecheek, Pugsy and Frankie root for Tom and Jerry to tell Robin the good news about her father being alive. Next we come to our villain, Pristine Fig, voiced by Charlotte Rae, whom sadly passed away last year. To me, Fig seems kind of like a combination of Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, Ursula from The Little Mermaid, and Madame Medusa from The Rescuers. Also, I really hate this character. Not just because she's a greedy bitch, but because of what she does to Robin, like take control of her house, throwing away her locket, even putting Robin up in an attic. Plus, she even tries to have Dr. Applecheek dispose of Tom and Jerry. Also, some of the facial expressions that Fig shows throughout the movie are really dark and intimidating. Next we have Fig's lawyer, Mr. Lickboot, voiced by the late, great Tony Jay, whom most of you guys know as Judge Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Shere Khan from The Jungle Book 2. Now, Lickboot is equally as dislikable as Fig. You see, the reason why Lickboot and Fig want Robin is so they can get their hands on her father's inheritance money. However, I think Lickboot is very smart, like when he advises Fig to plant a $1 million reward on Robin when she goes missing. And during the chase scene, Lickboot figures out where Robin, Tom, and Jerry are going when they stop by a sign pointing to Robin's cabin. Then there's Fig's dog, Ferdinand, vocalized by Michael Bell. Not much to say about this character other than the fact that he's a lazy, overweight dog on a skateboard. Our next character is Dr. J. Sweetface Applecheek, voiced by the late Henry Gibson, who did voice the Cat in the Hat in Daisy Head Maisie. As mentioned earlier, this guy seemed like a character who is a sweet and caring animal lover, but in reality, Applecheek is an evil and twisted man who keeps animals imprisoned in his secret cells, and he sells them for ransom to rich people. In fact, Fig has paid Applecheek to get rid of Tom and Jerry. Last but not least, we come to Captain Kitty, voiced by Rip Taylor, who got to voice Uncle Fester in the 1990s Addams Family animated series, and Genie in Disney's DuckTales the movie Treasure of the Lost Lamp. With Kitty is his hand puppet parrot sidekick Squawk, voiced by Howard Morris. Kitty is the owner of a failing county fair. To me, Kitty is quite scatterbrained and clumsy, but he was very hospitable when Robin washed up by the river near his theme park. He had originally planned on going on tour with Robin, but when he and Squawk notice Fig's bounty for her, he changes his mind and plans to trap her on the Ferris wheel until Fig and Lickboot pay up. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, Tom and Jerry the movie may not be a good movie to most of you. And while I do watch this movie at times, I do see where you're coming from. Yes, the writing could have been done better, and there are some dark moments, and several of the songs sucked, and the villains are all greedy idiots, but this film is still a guilty pleasure of mine. Also, on the positive side, the animation is still good, and there were a few hilarious and emotional moments, and I did like Tom and Jerry's chemistry in this movie, despite the fact that this movie was the first and only time they talked, and they don't get much focus. Plus, I did like other characters like Pugsy, Frankie, and even Robin. However, I cannot recommend this movie for everybody, but if you like Tom and Jerry, then I guess you should check this movie out if you want. If not, I think you should at least skip it. So, my rating will be a 61% out of 100. However, I just recently, heard that in 2 years, Tom and Jerry will be returning to the big screen in live action. Even though I've pretty much known about this for 7 years, thanks to a little heads up by Mr. Coates during Animat's top 10 worst films based on a cartoon. Heck, he even mentioned Mr. Peabody and Sherman during that video. Anyway, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in again next time. Mustang Power.